What's up, guys? Welcome back to Wildcat Cave. First things first, guys, I want to say thank you all for the likes and comments and subscriptions on my past couple videos. It really means a lot, and I really appreciate it. I hope you guys continue to do all of those things so we can help grow this channel together, guys. Again, I really appreciate it. Let's keep it up. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Today, we're going to go through the 3 reasons I believe Kentucky can dominate the name, image, likeness era of college athletics, guys. Obviously, the NCAA passed legislation on July 1st, allowing college students to finally make money off their name, image, likeness. This is probably the biggest thing to happen in college athletics since integration, honestly. Nothing is going to revolutionize college sports more than this since that time. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting with reason number 3 here. Kentucky is a national brand. Not many schools can claim this. You have a lot of schools that are big in their state or even big in their region. Not many. You have Kentucky, Alabama, Texas, maybe UCLA, and a few other schools thrown in there that you could argue is a national brand. Not many. And this is big when it comes to name, image, likeness, guys. It is important to have your name out there in front of the biggest crowd possible. That is how you're going to get the biggest donors and sponsors possible to give you money. Being in front of the largest amount of people is how you make the largest amount of money. Now, it's no secret that the main reason of this at Kentucky is the basketball team. It's obvious. They're the blue blood school. They're the greatest tradition in college basketball. But a rising tide raises all ships. So being a huge national brand in basketball is going to help you be a huge national brand everywhere in all sports. It's still going to get that Kentucky name out there, and it's still going to put you in front of a large crowd. Also, being a Nike school, there's not a bigger sports company than Nike. Kentucky, whether it's their uniforms or whatever being Nike, that does not only appeal to the high school athletes as, a look factor or a cosmetic thing, but it can be huge in their branding, especially after college. And if they're smart enough to look that far ahead, because technically Nike cannot sign them to go to a Nike school. That's a conflict of interest. But if they're smart and they plan ahead and they're going to be the superstar that they think they are in any sport at Kentucky, it is smart to pair with the largest brand in sports. I know there are some people upset at Louisville because they're an Adidas school, and Adidas is just not Nike. Being a Nike school is big when building your brand in sports. Also, being in the SEC is huge. Being in the best, no doubt, football conference on the biggest stage every week, having every single one of your games pretty much being on TV is huge. The SEC is obviously a great football school. That is probably what carries the SEC. But with Texas and Oklahoma coming over, it helps in all sports, not just football. Texas is going to be very good in basketball as well. Oklahoma is good in football. It's going, again, rising tides raise all ships. You're going to have the Kentucky and Texas and Florida and really good national teams in both sports. So when you're looking at a school or a conference even that you want to play in college, you're going to have to pick the SEC to make the most money. SEC was the first one to have their own TV deal. That is the hands down best choice for any college athlete wanting to make money off their brand. If you're looking at it as a conference, obviously Kentucky being in the SEC and having their games televised every single game is huge when it comes to making money off of your brand. And also, guys, for those of you who watch the Super Bowl or pay attention, Kentucky has always had a Super Bowl commercial the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. And again, this goes back to putting yourself in front of the largest audience possible. Now, obviously, in the past, they were not able to make money off of these commercials. Now, guys, they can. If a student wanted to, he could be in a Cadillac commercial on the Super Bowl, along with the Kentucky commercial. And you don't see every single college, or hardly any colleges for that matter, putting themselves out there for Super Bowl ads and Super Bowl commercials, and Kentucky does it on a consistent basis, gets their guys out in front of the biggest viewership possible. And when you're looking to sign somebody, if I am the CEO of McDonald's and I want Davion Mintz to represent McDonald's, having him at a school that puts his face and name out there as much as possible is always going to be a plus side for me, guys. That's going to be big, and the Super Bowl was just one example, as well as their coaches being behind it. There might not be a pair of more player-friendly coaches than Mark Stoops and John Calipari at any single school in the country. These guys, their philosophy from the day they were hired has always been players first, and I don't think that's going to change just because now the players make money. If anything, it's going to enhance that. These guys are going to be pro player, pro money, and I think they're going to be able to manage the locker rooms with these different situations that may arise very well. Also, there's a lot of money in Kentucky. I know that might not be the ideas or the stigmas, but there is, guys. The horse industry is huge. Trust me, it makes millions and millions of dollars. If you're in the state, you know that. Same thing with bourbon, and even coal still makes a ton of money for the state. There are people in the state that in those industries that want to see Kentucky succeed and will throw money at it to ensure that that happens. Same as you'll see at Alabama and Florida and Texas and Georgia and these other schools out there. And also, you're going to get the support from the school itself. Now, I know Mitch Barnhart's comments wasn't exactly inspiring when this news first broke that this was going to happen at the 1st of July, but I think he's going to come around. He's going to have to if he wants to stay competitive. So I expect that he will get on board sooner rather than later. So with that being said, moving on to number 2, guys, there's just no competition in Kentucky. Let's be honest. You don't have any competition to compete with as far as fans and viewerships. You don't have the Kentucky Colonel basketball team you had back years and years ago. You don't have any pro teams, no MLB, no NHL, no soccer. I mean, you don't have a professional badminton team. So that means all sports fans in Kentucky are going to be focused at the college level. That is huge for Kentucky. Obviously, if you live in Kentucky, you know how much Kentucky basketball means. There was even a poll put out by the Louisville Courier-Journal that they put out, if you were a Kentucky or Louisville fan, 66% of people that responded put Kentucky. That is 2/3 of the state to a Louisville-based newspaper, and Louisville only got 19% of that poll, not even the remaining third, which means there are other alliances split up with the remaining 11%, whether that be outside the state or not. And also, you're not in a big market. You're not in Miami or LA where there's nightclubs and celebrities and Hollywood and this and that and beaches and everything else that could distract you from focusing on a basketball team or a specific college athletics program. You're not in a massive market that's going to distract or take away from your loyalty or your fanship to a specific school. And again, I know I just mentioned the Louisville thing, but you don't have any schools around that can compete with Kentucky when it comes to fans and viewership. And again, all of this is how can I be in front of the most people? Who are the most loyal people to me and my brand? And that's how you make your money. Who's going to buy my merchandise or support, whatever I am selling you? That is how these kids are going to make their money. Now, you might think that Duke or Kansas or some of these other schools can compete with Kentucky, but think about it. Duke is competing with NC State, North Carolina, the Panthers, and Wake Forest, and whatever else is down, the Beaches, everything else down there. Michigan State, if you want to consider them a blue blood, has Michigan, the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Lions, the Pistons. They have all of those teams to compete with. Kansas has the Chiefs and the Royals. The only real comparison I can make here, guys, and this might sound crazy to some people, is Alabama. If we're going to accept that Alabama is going to be the team that benefits most in football from NIL, I think it's clear that Kentucky is going to be the team that benefits most in basketball. So, but if you're comparing apples to apples here, Kentucky has a longer tradition of success, more of a glitz and glamour, high-profile status, especially with somebody like Cal at the forefront as opposed to Saban. And so I think that gives Kentucky the edge there. Then even in the opposite sports, if you take Alabama basketball and Kentucky football, those are also very comparable. Alabama football is just now up and coming, becoming relevant in the SEC, while Kentucky football is doing the same. And the SEC East specifically. I know basketball isn't divided into East and West, but you're seeing the rise of these other programs at these two top tier schools in their respective sports. So if you're going to make a comparison anywhere, I think Alabama and Kentucky are very, very similar in the name, image, likeness deals. But I'm going to give the slight edge to Kentucky mainly because of the tradition of success. Alabama's had really only success in football under Saban and a little bit with Bear Bryant. And Kentucky's been successful with pretty much every coach they've had, with exceptions of Sutton and Gillespie. Every other coach that has been at Kentucky pretty much ever since Rupp has had some level of sustained success. And that is big when you're trying to build a brand. You want to go to the most high-profile schools. Football is going to be Alabama. Kentucky's going to be basketball. But when you look at the school as a whole, I think Kentucky edges out Alabama as an NIL destination. And the number one reason, guys, I didn't put any, fancy pop-ups or anything, with the exception of Devin Booker here, on this next slide, because it really does speak for itself. If you're in or around Kentucky, you know that it just means more. I challenge you to go to a game day in hardly any other school at any sport and get the same level of buzz in a town that you do at Kentucky. This might seem arbitrary or a homer type of opinion, but it really is true, and a lot of it goes back to not having competition. But without having those pro teams or those other colleges, fans want so bad for their one team in their state to be successful, and there's an odd tie that people like myself that live in Kentucky have to their home state here. It really drives the fans to want their team to succeed, guys. And Kentucky also does a great job at supporting this. They put their student athletes out into the communities, out in and they do big events for their athletes. And this is before NIL. With NIL, and they continue to do these same events, the same support, and put these guys out there. It's only going to make them money on their own merchandise or whatever brands they're representing. Now these kids Dante Allen has his own t-shirt line now. Now he can go to the Big Blue Campout or Big Blue Madness and shoot his t-shirts up into the crowd, or have somebody selling his t-shirts at the campout, or, the catwalk. Now these guys can sign autographs doing the catwalk, and, or do $5 or set up at a restaurant or bar or whatever in Lexington and make money off of these things. And with Kentucky having such a loyal fan base, it's really going to help them build their brand and make a lot more money for themselves. And like I said, the school also does a good job putting, social media clips out there, really feeling like the fans are invested in each individual team. And they also do a lot of community outreach with their Camp Cal basketball camps, or the football team going to food pantries or helping donate food or whatever they're doing. It ties them to that community. It's going to make the people around the state support whatever they're selling that much more. And I think national brands like your McDonald's, your Nikes, your Amazon's, Netflix, it's going to make that a lot more appealing than as opposed to a guy who goes to Georgia, who is competing with players from the Hawks and Georgia Tech and all these other schools and things to do, or the Miamis of the world. So it really does mean more, even in the one and done era, guys. Maybe with the exception of this past season in basketball, because of COVID, you didn't get that same one-on-one feeling or that connection to the players. But you hear it every year. These guys that are at Kentucky for a year playing basketball leave and go to the NBA, and they talk very fondly of their time at Kentucky. That loyalty that the fans have is going to skyrocket these dudes' prices. And even something I just thought about is the Cameo, where they make little personalized videos for people. If you don't think there's thousands of people all across the state willing to pay $30, $40, $50, maybe even $100 for these players to make a 30-second video saying, hey, happy birthday, you're just crazy. And all of this is to say that it means more at Kentucky. The fans mean more. It means more to the fans. And all of that is going to drive these players' stock up when it comes to them selling merchandise, selling, whatever brand it is that they have. And it's going to help them make as much money as possible. And not many other schools have that same loyalty to the school. Not to say it doesn't exist everywhere, but I think it exists more at Kentucky. And that's it, guys. That was a short and sweet video on why I believe Kentucky can dominate the name, image, likeness era. I I genuinely don't know that there's another school that can truly be on Kentucky's level with maybe the Alabama, the comparison I said. But again, guys, thanks for listening. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, guys. I'll do my best to respond to everybody in the comments section. If you think I left something out, a reason why they might do better, or maybe I overestimated them, let me know down in the comments section. And as always, guys, go Cats.